I think Jim was an advisor, sort of, maybe, but he wasn't on the committee. He didn't show up at all these meetings.
He built the pagoda.
No, David Wong built the pagoda as in a recreation of the 1936 royal visit. I think they had the king come?
No.
No, it's Duke of Connaught.
The Duke of Connaught. The Vancouver Jubilee. That's right, the 50th anniversary. That was happening. What did you say, Sharon?
1936.
1936.
My father was the chairman that did the pagoda in Chinatown.
That's right. There was a pagoda in Chinatown at that point. It was an amazing exhibit recreating what the contributions of Vancouver's Chinese at that time. And then Paul created a book, and the book was Saltwater City, and the book actually inspired, I think, the city of Vancouver to create the Vancouver Book Prize. If Paul won the inaugural Vancouver Book Prize, who won the second one? Does anybody know? Or the third, or the fourth? I can't remember, but I know, Sky, you won. You don't remember? Yeah, Sky Lee won for the Disappearing Moon Cafe. I think Wei-Sin Choi won for the JP. And Jim will tell you that most of the books that won the first prizes were all helped along or associated with the Asian Canadian Writers Workshop. So very happy to have so many Asian Canadian writers here tonight. Give everybody a hand, please. There's a lot of pioneer writers here tonight. There's a lot of brand new writers, and we're going to introduce them throughout the evening. But when you now, I think 30 years after Saltwater City exhibit, we're looking at 150 years since Canada was sort of born?
150 tomorrow, next year.
150 next year. You know, it's also 130 or so odd years since a colony of British Columbia was declared by the, who was the governor at the time?
Douglas.
James Douglas. But, you know, there were people here before that. Our First Nations cousins, our First Nations friends. We have Musqueam Elder Larry Grant and his wife Gina here tonight. And their very special friend Sarah. Now you may know that we include Larry as an Asian Canadian writer, because he published his book a little while ago. I'll have Larry introduce his book. But before we continue to go on for dinner tonight, we invite Larry to come up and give a traditional First Nations welcome, because here we are on unceded Salish coast, Salish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish traditional territories. Hey Larry, how are you doing tonight? And as Larry makes his way up to the front, I'll recount a story. I paddled with First Nations peoples in Alexander Morton down the Fraser River from Hope down to Musqueam Village. And when I got to the Musqueam Village, we were having a big celebration. We're eating chow mein. And Larry comes up and gives me a warm welcome. Thank you, Larry. How are you doing?
Good.
Oh, thank you. There you go.
Thank you very much, Todd. It's really
Stand right here.
Stand over there, please.
a privilege to be here amongst all of you, what I call accomplished writers. When we were just starting out, doing a little book for children, to actually see the difference between Indigenous children that are part Chinese, or Chinese children that are part Indigenous, to have a presence. And it's really, really important that we have started that, and it's good to see everyone here. My name is Larry Grant. Ayatluck is my Musqueam name, and my Chinese name is Hong Lai Heng. So it's carry those three names. And I'm one of the old folks at Musqueam, and I would like to say a few words. Emcee, Tallatan, Taswallop, Ahui Namat, Hui Eatana, Kunan, is Helig to Muktas Hales, Tana Kunan. Stek, Wanis Johannes, Kefalano, I Holtimoto, Set to something neat to swallow up a helostala. I tap LSM. I just want to say thank you again and welcome to all of you here as our ancestors did in the past, our great-great-great-grandparent Kebalano and Quiltimoto, who had greeted the first Spanish ship under Captain Narvaez and the first English ship under Captain George Vancouver. So as he did in the past, I do this evening and raise my hands in welcome to all of you here on the traditional, ancestral, unceded lands of the Hunkaminam speaking Musqueam people, along with our relatives from Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh. So I just want to say something else. I was at a meeting with the Dean's Advisory Group from UBC, and one of them had said to be more explicit about that word unceded, because many people are not aware actually, and to ensure that it doesn't become just a buzzword, the unceded lands of the First Nations people. So that it's to explain the word unceded, it's not about my farming ancestry where the land is barren, but it's about a legal term where the land that we occupied and prior to Canada coming and being created, it's the land that's occupied arbitrarily by the new immigrants without an agreement, without a treaty, without it being given away or lost in battle. And it's occupied by Canada, the province of British Columbia, and the city of Vancouver without compensation. So they haven't paid any money or compensated in any other way to the First Nations people of this area. So they have, we are the first dispossessed people in this area. We have been moved off our lands and contained on the Indian reserves. So that's a little explanation about unceded, so that this doesn't become part of a word in a welcome dialogue. So again, on behalf of the Hunkaminam speaking Musqueam people, I raise my hands in welcome. Say it's all attend to swallow namat eat Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. You don't have your Grant Tartan kilt. We'll talk later. We'll get you one. Larry, as you know, his father had Chinese ancestry, and his grandparents, or somewhere down the line, had Scottish ancestry. I'm wearing a kilt because this is the Wong tartan. It's yellow. Wong means yellow in Cantonese. Not the white tartan. No. That's a different one. The black tartan. Sean Gunn? Where's your gun tartan?
It's a green thing, but
it's a green thing.
I'm not wearing it.
Yeah. Now, why am I wearing a kilt? I organized Gong Haggis Fat Choi, Robbie Burns Chinese New Year dinner, and I've been on the board for the Asian Canadian Writers Workshop for a long time, and I found that by misappropriating Scottish culture, I've been able to help promote Asian Canadian writers. I do. So normally when we do a Robbie Burns dinner, we always have an Asian Canadian writer, and that's what I've been doing. They don't know about it, so don't tell them. The other thing is that another writer, Roy Meekie. Roy Meekie once told me, Todd, you couldn't be a prime minister in this country unless you were Scottish. So I started wearing a kilt. We'll see where this goes. Jim Wong-Chu is going to make his way down here. He's going to make some introductions. But while Jim is here, coming down here, I'm just going to tell you that if you want to drink some wine today, I have a $10 corking fee on special bottles. Sandhill wines and Red Rooster wines are created by Chinese Canadian Kara Gibbs at Naramata, and also Howard Soon in Kelowna. So come talk to me if you want to have a bottle. But Jim, you're here. Here we go.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for coming. It's quite unexpected, but you know, for us as a community and also community writers, it's really important to share a meal together. You know, because I think for us Asians, food culture is really, really a big deal. And the fact that we can actually join together as a community and just share a meal is really something that I cherish a lot of. Anyways, my name is Jim Wong-Chu. I'm one of the founding members of the Asian Canadian Writers Workshop. And the Asian Canadian Writers Workshop is an organization that came out of a need. Because a few of us, Sky Lee, myself, Denise Chong, we were the early writers, you know, the pioneers that got a book published. And then we turned around, took a look, and we were the only ones. And so I think it was through that determination that we decided that we got to keep the door open, and we got to, you know, bring more writers through. So the Asian Canadian Writers Workshop, the mandate is to help young writers publish. And we're one of the very few writers organizations in North America that actually can say that we help writers publish, and we actually do. So in the last 20 years, we've developed a whole generation of writers, and many of them are among us today. But the thing is, we're already now 20 years going into and seeking out the second generation. And this is the reason why we have this thing called LiterASIAN. LiterASIAN was born out of this idea that we have to have our own fun. The idea was that, you know, there's Vancouver Writers Festival, there's Writers Festival all over the place, but for them, they're trying to accommodate everybody. They're trying to be as diverse and so on as possible. So for them to have 2 or 3 Asian writers, that was a big deal. But you know, we've been developing writers. We've developed a lot of books. But the thing is that we have to start developing an audience. And so there was a grant open, and we said, why not? And next thing you know, we got some funding, and this is the 4th year now. And we're going to continue to grow this idea of a festival, but also the idea of developing readers and bringing them and getting them acquainted with an audience. Because I mean, how many opportunities do you have to actually to meet a writer, you know, a well-known published writer, and be able to talk and shake their hand in such a social and informal environment? You know, this is something of a rarity. And this year, we put together this thing called History and Memory, because next year is the 150th anniversary of the Confederation. And we felt this was a good time to start talking and reflecting about our own history and our own memories of our history and why we write so much about it. And so